The Gaza Health Ministry reports that since October 7th, more than 42,183 Palestinians have been killed, including nearly 16,500 children. Updated figures also show that over 95,921 people have been injured, with more than 10,000 missing under the rubble. In recent developments, Gaza's health ministry reports that 12 Palestinians were killed in the latest 24-hour period. Hanadi Masha, whose son was killed in Gaza after just being released from an Israeli prison, spoke about the devastation her family have experienced recently.
باكي يعني هو باكي يقول أنا بدي أصير مهندس، بدي أصير دكتور، بدي أصير بس بديت الاحتلال حطم له كل طموحاته يعني.
شخصيته هو أصلاً وائل شخصيته ما شاء الله عليه قوية، شخصيته قوية، طموح، كان يحب الدراسة ويحب شغلة شو اسمه هيك يعني يصلح كمبيوترات والجوالات، وكان يحكي إنه بدي حابب إنه يصير يعني بالشغلة شو اسمه البرمجة.
Meanwhile, Israeli officials have revised the death toll from the October 7th attacks, reducing the number from 1,405 to 1,139.
Israeli missiles continue to pound Lebanon for a third straight day, killing another 15. This brings the total of dead to nearly 600, including at least 50 children. The strikes have been across the south, centre and east of the country. In the Bekaa Valley, Israel has attacked Baalbek, home to some of the most complete ancient remains in the Middle East. Israel has confirmed it is continuing extensive strikes in Lebanon. In response, Hezbollah have fired rockets into Israel, targeting Tel Aviv for the first time. This dashcam footage shows a Hezbollah rocket hitting an Israeli highway. The US has sent warships to the eastern Mediterranean to help shoot down Hezbollah rockets. The UK has sent Royal Navy destroyer HMS Duncan to the area. The 700 troops that have been deployed to Cyprus are to help with a mass evacuation of British nationals from the Lebanon. These will join the already considerable RAF forces based on the island. Most airlines have cancelled flights to Beirut, and the UK has warned against travelling to Lebanon. Thousands of Lebanese have fled their homes in the south of the country, clogging the roads to the north. Israel's escalation of the conflict takes place as world leaders gathered at a meeting of the United Nations in New York, and the Pope, in a statement issued in Rome, all called for de-escalation and diplomacy. But Israel, taking advantage of the paralysis in Washington as the presidential race draws to a conclusion, looks set on risking all-out war.
During the UN General Assembly in New York, Colombian President Gustavo Petro labeled Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a criminal for the attack on Gaza.
Dice que el 1% más rico de la humanidad tiene más riqueza que el 95% de toda la humanidad junta. Es en esta desigualdad alcanzada, la mayor de nuestra historia como especie, donde se encuentra la lógica de la destrucción masiva desatada en la crisis climática y la lógica de las bombas que suelta un criminal como Netanyahu sobre Gaza. Netanyahu es un héroe para el 1% más rico de la humanidad porque es capaz de mostrar que los pueblos se destruyen bajo las bombas.
In his address, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan criticized the UN for inaction on Gaza and accused Israel of barbarism.
Gazze'de sadece çocuklar değil, aynı zamanda Birleşmiş Milletler sistemi ölüyor. Hakikat ölüyor. Batı'nın savunduğunu iddia ettiği değerler ölüyor. İnsanlığın daha adil bir dünyada yaşama umutları tek tek ölüyor. Ey Birleşmiş Milletler Güvenlik Konseyi, Gazze soykırımının önüne geçmek bu zulme, bu barbarlığa dur demek için daha neyi bekliyorsunuz? Filistin halkıyla birlikte kendi vatandaşlarının canını tehlikeye atan siyasi ikbali için tüm bölgeyi savaşa sürükleyen katliam şebekesini durdurmak için daha neyi bekliyorsunuz?
The president of Iran also called to stop Israel's insane barbarism in Lebanon before it sets the region and the world on fire.
طبیعی است که جنایت کور و تروریستی چند روز گذشته و تجاوز گسترده علیه لبنان که هزاران انسان بیگناه را به خاک و خون کشیده است بی پاسخ نمیماند و مسئولیت عواقب آن با دولت‌هایی است که در برابر تلاش‌های بین المللی برای پایان دادن به این فاجعه وحشتناک می‌ایستند و هنوز نام خود را مدافع حقوق بشر می‌نامند. مردم جهان در یک سال گذشته ماهیت رژیم اسرائیل را دیدند. سردمداران این رژیم چگونه جنایت می‌کنند و در 11 ماه بیش از 41,000 مردم بیگناه را در غزه به خاک و خون کشیدند که بیشتر زنان و کودکان بیگناهند. تا زمانی که بی‌عدالتی، ظلم، زیادخواهی، فقر در جهان و در منطقه حاکم باشد، جنگ و خونریزی ادامه پیدا خواهد کرد.
Joe Biden addressed the United Nations General Assembly for the final time as President of the United States. He warned member states about the dangers of AI, announced US plans to donate 1 million doses of the Mpox vaccine to African nations, urged world leaders to put their people's needs before their own, and encouraged the international community to work together.
I decided after 50 years of public service, it's time for a new generation of leadership to take my nation forward. My fellow leaders, let us never forget, some things are more important than staying in power. It's your people. It's your people that matter the most. Never forget, we are here to serve the people, not the other way around. We're prepared to commit $500 million to help African countries prevent and respond to Mpox and to donate 1 million doses of Mpox vaccine now. The world needs to stop arming the generals, to speak with one voice and tell them, stop tearing your country apart, stop blocking aid to the Sudanese people, end this war now. In the years ahead, there may well be no greater test of our leadership than how we deal with AI. Things can get better. We should never forget that. I've seen that throughout my career. Every age faces its challenges. I saw it as a young man. I see it today. But we are stronger than we think.
In his speech, Biden also called for an end to the war on Gaza, expressed concern about Israel's strikes on Hezbollah targets, and issued a warning against the escalation of a full-scale war in Lebanon.
Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible. In fact, it remains the only path to lasting security, to allow the residents from both countries to return to their homes and the border safely. And that's what we're working tirelessly to achieve.
An art installation featuring 15,000 small teddy bears was unveiled in Doha, Qatar, to honor the children killed in Gaza during Israel's ongoing war on Gaza. Titled Echo of Lost Innocence, the installation serves as a powerful memorial, with each bear dressed in a black t-shirt bearing the message, "I'm not just a number." The installation aims to highlight the human toll of the conflict, particularly the loss of young lives. Artist Bachir Mohammad, speaking at the event, explained these sculptures reflect the screams and cries of the children who were killed in Gaza since October 7th, 2023. They are not just numbers, they are human beings with identities and a homeland called Palestine.
Echo of Lost Innocence is art installation that consists of 15,000 sculptures. These sculptures are simply the reflection of the screams and the cries of the children who got killed in Gaza since October 7, 2023, that they are not just numbers. They are humans who have identities, who have a whole homeland called Palestine. The idea of the installation itself started in December 2023 when I saw a photo for a kid in Gaza. She lost her family and she was holding a teddy bear in her arms. That's when the idea hit my mind that I need to do something.
It is, and I think just to see it rather than just seeing numbers all the time, to just see it visually, I think the art is just amazing. Just to see it how it is and how many kids, how many people have lost their lives, it's unexplainable.
صراحة السبب اللي جاني المكان لفت انتباهي، المكان المبادرة جميلة صراحة، من المبادرات الجميلة. يوم عرفت القصة وراء المبادرة تحمست إني ودي أشارك برضو حتى أكون أحد الناس اللي يضعون بصمة، وإن شاء الله نساعد إخواننا.
The installation has drawn attention to the tragic impact of the war on Gaza's children, serving as a visual reminder of the ongoing humanitarian crisis.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has said the war with Russia could end sooner than some people think in an interview with ABC News. Speaking to the UN General Assembly, Zelenskyy reiterated the importance of ending the Russia-Ukraine war.
Putin has broken so many international norms and rules that he won't stop on his own. Russia can only be forced into peace. And that is exactly what's needed, forcing Russia into peace as the sole aggressor in this war, the sole violator of the UN Charter.
Zelenskyy added that Ukraine could push Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the conflict, but only if Kiev was coming from a strong position, once again calling on his Western allies to strengthen the Ukrainian army. Zelenskyy spoke with ABC as he visited New York on Monday for the United Nations General Assembly this week as part of a trip to the US, where he has promised to present what he calls his victory plan to President Joe Biden, as well as other key American political leaders. While details of the Ukrainian plan have been kept under wraps, the strategy is likely to contain pleas for further military and financial support, plus future security guarantees. Zelenskyy has for some time been asking Western countries to allow Ukraine to ease restrictions on the use of long-range missiles, which could be used to strike deep into Russia. He is expected to do so again this week as he visits the US. An incursion by Ukrainian troops into Russia's Kursk region in August failed to ease the pressure put by Moscow on eastern Ukraine. Several regions continue to see daily casualties and widespread damage to Ukraine's energy infrastructure. There are concerns Russia could seize more key towns in the east of the country. In daytime attack on Tuesday, Russia hit a high-rise apartment block in Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv. At least 3 people died and 15 were injured in the attack, which local authorities said was carried out with glide bombs.
Since Russia can't defeat our people's resistance on the battlefield, Putin is looking for other ways to break the Ukrainian spirit. One of his methods is targeting our energy infrastructure. And these are deliberate Russian attacks on our power plants and the entire energy grid. As of today, Russia has destroyed all our thermal power plants and a large part of our hydroelectric capacity. This is how Putin is preparing for winter, hoping to torment millions of Ukrainians, ordinary families, women, children, ordinary towns, ordinary villages. Putin wants to leave them in the dark and cold this winter.
Sri Lanka's newly elected leftist leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake enters office with high expectations and even higher stakes. Following a decisive landslide victory, the newly elected leader, a vocal critic of global lenders, now faces the difficult challenge of governing a country still reeling from its worst economic crisis in 70 years. His predecessor Ranil Wickremesinghe was voted out after enacting deeply unpopular policies such as doubling income taxes and cutting subsidies. These austerity measures stabilized inflation and revived economic growth after the country's $46 billion foreign debt default. However, the new president has promised to reverse these tax hikes and raise public sector salaries, which endeared him to the nation's poor, but they also pit him against a $2.9 billion International Monetary Fund bailout that many analysts say is non-negotiable. Despite his fiery rhetoric against the austerity measures imposed by his predecessor, the new administration is constrained by the realities of the IMF agreement, which served as a lifeline to the bankrupt nation. According to Murtaza Jafaji, the chairman of Colombo-based economic think tank Advocata, the new president is heavily restricted in the economic policies that he can introduce due to the IMF agreement.
Any kind of reform that requires parliamentary approval, they will be unable to do it. They can only adjust certain things that the presidential power is allowed to do. So I'm afraid that on the fiscal side, there is not much adjustment that can be done in this interim period. So I think there are certain red lines that the IMF will not agree to negotiate. Perhaps two of them is, one is on the fiscal side, the primary balance target, which is 2.3% going into next year. And the second one is that there cannot be any change to the central bank law, which makes the bank independent, where their primary mandate is price stability, and the second is that there is no monetary financing. So they have been saying that they would like to relax tax policy but make it up through tax administration. That is easier said than done, because improving tax administration is a long process, that it will not only require change in the culture, but it will require change in systems and the culture of the public also to be more adherent.
As Sri Lanka continues its fragile recovery, Disanayake's first major task will be navigating the restructuring of its massive debt burden. The previous government struck a last-minute deal with international bondholders just before the election, but its implementation now hangs in the balance. Failing to finalise this agreement could open Sri Lanka to legal action from its creditors, a scenario that would further delay economic recovery.
Saifuzzahman Chowdhury, a 55-year-old former land minister in Bangladesh, hailing from a powerful family in Chittagong, has reportedly amassed an international real estate empire valued at over $500 million across London, Dubai and New York. Al Jazeera's investigative unit has uncovered a trail of luxury properties and hidden assets tied to Mr. Chowdhury. This revelation has raised questions about the source of his wealth, given Bangladesh's strict currency laws that limit citizens to transferring only $12,000 out of the country annually. Chowdhury, despite restrictions, was able to purchase more than 360 properties in the UK alone since 2016. According to a Supreme Court advocate in Bangladesh, the law is clear. Foreign holdings by public officials must be disclosed. Yet, there is no record of Chowdhury declaring these overseas properties on his tax returns. Authorities in Bangladesh have since frozen his bank accounts and are investigating claims that Chowdhury laundered millions of dollars into the UK. A key focus of Al Jazeera's investigation is the role of a network of advisors and financial institutions that enabled these transactions. London estate agent Ripon Mahmood is reported to have introduced Chowdhury to individuals and companies that helped him navigate the UK property market. Among them were Charles Douglas Solicitors, LLP, which is said to have managed the refinancing of more than 100 property loans for Chowdhury. Paresh Raja, whose company Financial Solutions provided hundreds of loans, and Rahul Madre of Singaporean bank DBS, which also lent him significant sums. These entities claim to have carried out rigorous anti-money laundering checks on Chowdhury. They argue that his wealth came from legitimate, long-standing business ventures outside Bangladesh, including in the UAE, the US, and the UK. Chowdhury should have been subject to stricter scrutiny by the estate agents, banks, and legal firms involved in his transactions. Chowdhury, who fled Bangladesh in August, has denied any wrongdoing. He claims that the accusations are parts of a politically motivated witch hunt targeting figures associated with previous government.